The fire in Los Angeles burned to ashes. Los Angeles, a city known for its glamour, bright lights, and towering skyscrapers, had always been a place of hope and dreams. But that night, everything changed. It began as a typical dry summer evening. The sun set behind the distant hills, casting a golden hue over the city. The temperature soared, and the air felt heavy with tension, as if something was about to happen. As darkness descended, the first sign of something strange appeared. A flicker of light far in the distance, followed by a wave of heat that seemed to radiate from the ground itself. Within minutes, a small fire broke out in the hills. But this was no ordinary fire. The flames roared higher than any fire should, growing uncontrollably fast, as though it had a mind of its own. It spread quickly, consuming everything in its path with terrifying precision, as though the flames were being controlled by some unseen force. But it wasn't the fire itself that was the true horror. It was what followed. As the flames spread through the city, something else seemed to awaken in the heart of the fire. A dark presence, something ancient and malevolent, began to rise with the smoke. People in the streets screamed in panic, but no one could explain what was happening. The fire moved with unnatural speed, twisting in ways that defied logic. The heat was unbearable, but there was something far worse. The air was thick with an eerie, oppressive presence. From the heart of the fire, strange figures began to appear, flickering in and out of existence, as though they were trapped within the flames. These figures were not human. Their forms were grotesque and deformed, faces twisted in pain and rage, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The people who saw them went mad with fear, running aimlessly through the streets, unable to escape the nightmare unfolding before them. A young woman named Sarah stood on the rooftop of her apartment building, watching the chaos below. The fire was swallowing the city, turning it into an inferno. She had lived in Los Angeles her whole life, but she had never seen anything like this. It was as if the city itself was burning from the inside out. As she stood there, mesmerized by the flames, she saw something in the fire, something moving. A figure standing tall and ominous amidst the swirling flames. It was a man, his face hidden beneath a hood, his silhouette towering above the inferno. And then, to Sarah's horror, she heard a voice, whispering her name. "Sarah, come closer." She turned around, but no one was behind her. Her heart pounded in her chest. The voice was coming from the fire. But it wasn't just a voice, it was a command, pulling her toward the flames. "Come closer, join us." Without thinking, she stepped toward the edge of the roof. The voice was hypnotic, like a force she couldn't resist. It wasn't just calling her, it was beckoning her, offering her something that felt both terrifying and alluring at the same time. The figure in the flames raised its arm as if gesturing for her to come. Something inside Sarah told her to run. She tried to step back, but her body didn't obey. The flames below her seemed to reach out, lapping at the air like hungry mouths. She could feel the heat, but it wasn't just the fire. It was the heat of something dark, something alive, something ancient. The air around her thickened, and the whispers grew louder, more urgent. It was as if the fire itself was calling to her, promising to consume her, to join her with the shadows that haunted the flames. Suddenly, she heard the faintest sound, an agonized scream, echoing from deep within the fire. It was the sound of someone who had been trapped, someone who had been burned alive and was now lost to the flames. The scream sent a shiver down her spine, but before she could react, the fire seemed to surge forward, a massive wave of heat and flame crashing over the rooftop. Sarah's body felt as though it were being pulled by an invisible force. She stumbled, falling toward the fire. But as the flames reached for her, a strange darkness swept over her. For a brief moment, everything went silent. The fire halted as if time itself had stopped. And then, out of the smoke, a figure emerged. An ancient being, its face covered in soot and ash, its eyes glowing like embers. The figure stepped toward her, its movements slow, deliberate. It was the same figure she had seen in the flames. "Why have you come?" the figure asked, its voice low and gravelly, like the crackling of fire itself. I don't know," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "I couldn't stop myself." The figure smiled, though it was a smile full of malice. "You are not the first. Many have come before you, drawn by the fire. They have all met the same fate." Before Sarah could respond, the figure reached out with its burning hand, placing it on her forehead. A sudden vision exploded in her mind, a vision of the city, burning. She saw the flames reach deep into the earth, the city reduced to ashes. But beneath the ruins, something else stirred, an ancient force, an evil that had been sealed away for centuries, now freed by the fire. "You have awakened him," the figure whispered. "The fire is not just a blaze. It is the rebirth of an ancient evil, and it is hungry." The flames surged forward, enveloping Sarah in a blinding light. Her screams were lost in the roar of the inferno as the city burned. As the fire raged through Los Angeles, people continued to flee, but no one could escape the city's destruction. The flames burned hotter and faster, as if the fire had a life of its own. The ground cracked open, and from beneath the city, a dark figure emerged, rising from the ashes, free,